Hello and welcome to the Joe Show. I am Joe. This is my morning show. If you're not familiar with me, I get up in the morning, I read an article, and then I report on it to you. It's kind of just an interesting topic of the day, discussion, hangout session. If you like my content, please subscribe. I try to do this once a day in the mornings, and then I upload it. So if you like what I'm doing, share me with a friend, follow me on social media, subscribe to my channel, and then help me build this together. If you got a suggestion, have an article, a topic you want me to talk about, head on or email me at hijoeshow@gmail.com. That's hijoeshow@gmail.com. Today, I'm going to be talking about nootropics. Nootropics? Nootropics? Nootropics. Yatropics. I don't know. If you're not familiar with them, they are supplements that help productivity, learning, and stress reduction. Now, I want to point out before we even get started, I am not a physician. I am not a doctor. I am not licensed at all to be giving medical advice. I'm merely reporting on an article from another person who's not a physician, not a doctor, and is not qualified really to give medical advice on drugs. So, I gotta say this up front. If you are interested in doing nootropics or experimenting with nootropics, I have to encourage you to speak with your physician first. There's a lot of people who do not speak with their physician, but I would encourage you to speak with your physician if interested in adding supplements or drugs into your daily routine. With that being said, what exactly is a nootropic and what are their purposes? So they are meant for increasing productivity, mental state, perhaps reducing anxiety, or putting yourself in a more relaxed mood for sleeping, for example. They are supplements you can take normally in pill form that aid in these sorts of activities, and people use them for a variety of different tasks. But before we get into what types of nootropics you can take, or maybe some nootropics for beginners, we have to talk about a law, the rule of law, a law called the Yerkes Dodson Law. No, this is not a regulation, but a theory, scientific mechanism. I don't know what you call it. Regardless, Yerkes Dodson Law. It describes the relationship between psychological arousal, aka energy level, and your performance for a given task. So what it's saying is there's a bell curve. If you're not familiar with the bell curve, it looks something like this. Ooh, looks like an upside down, actually not upside down, it looks like a bell without the little ringy ding in the middle. And so it says that as you take supplements to increase your arousal level, or as you just increase your arousal level in general, there are diminishing returns. So up to a certain point, you'll be super productive. And then after that point is hit at the top of the bell curve, which we're all familiar with now because of the COVID-19 pandemic, you'll begin to flatten your curve out and you won't be as productive. Either you'll be too focused on your anxiety symptoms, and so you won't be productive, or you will be too distracted by other tasks, other things around you, or you want to get up, move around, go for a walk, etc. So the Yerkes Dodson Law is this correlation between productivity and stimulation, and it says that there are diminishing returns. So when you're messing around with nootropics, why this is important is that you want to experiment with different dosages for different tasks to find that optimal level, that top level, before you start losing motivation or losing productivity on the other side of things. If you want to look it up, Yerkes Dodson Law. And so nootropics also need to be said produce mental states and capabilities, but not necessarily results. It means that if you take these supplements, you're not necessarily going to finish that article that you want to work on. And even if you do finish that article, it doesn't mean it's going to be very well written, not have spelling mistakes, be the best and most poetic article that you've ever written. It's just producing a mental state to enhance your ability to finish that article. Just using an article as a a reference point, but it could also be like a volleyball game, for example. Maybe you take a nootropic to increase your energy level so you perform better in a volleyball game, but it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to spike all of the setups that you get from the other team. So one final note before we jump into actual nootropic stuff that you can try out. It should be noted that you can combine them with other approaches, or they should be combined synergistically with other approaches. For example, sleeping 7 to 9 hours a night. I mean, everyone tells you to do this. Get more sleep. And it's actually super important. I think that sleep helps you not only the next day, but it reduces aging, so you look healthier for longer, and it just makes you better at everything. I know that if I don't get 8 to 9 hours of sleep a night, I am dead the next day. I will do something called joeing out, as my friends put it. So I would, in the past when I was younger, be super tired from waking up too early, not sleeping enough, then going to college classes and then coming back home, where I would get home and I would be so exhausted and so tired, or maybe even from work, that I would go to my bed and I would sleep like a Z on it. So I would lay my body, my torso on the bed, and my hips and legs would be on the floor, and I would be in like a Z shape to sleep. And that was because I was so tired and too lazy to throw my legs into the bed, and it was comfortable to sleep like that because my bed was low to the ground. Regardless, I would joe out, get 7 to 9 hours a night, try to work in a quiet place with no distractions. Practice a morning routine that gets you off to a good start. I'm not good at this. This is something I want to work on. I should probably read an article about that. Use dual and back software to train your memory. No idea what that is, but I guess I should read an article on that and talk about it. Listen to algorithmic music. I don't know what algorithmic music is. Maybe I'll make a video on that. Build a daily meditation habit. I would suggest trying out the app Headspace. Follow productivity hacks. Let's throw that one out. That told us nothing. Use structured note-taking to aid your memory and keep a calendar. I know I live and die by my calendar. That is super important. Take daily walks and get plenty of sunlight. It boosts your immune system to get that vitamin D from the sun. Stay hydrated. Carry a water bottle with you when you can. Eat a low-carb, high-protein meal to produce dopamine. That was low-carb, high-protein meal to produce dopamine, which will give you a little bit more energy and make you happier. And eat a high-carb meal when you want to produce more serotonin, which is a precursor to melatonin, which puts you to sleep. So maybe eating a bunch of carbs before bed would not be a bad idea. Also, eat slow-digesting meals such as proteins, vegetables, and nuts for stored and steady energy levels, and then also include your nootropics experiments with all of that other stuff in place. I mean, that was a lot. Whew. So, what are some nootropics we can start with? In this article, he mentions 3 to start with, and that is caffeine. I mean, we're all familiar with it. It's in coffee. It's in soda. We get caffeine every day. I would suggest being careful with caffeine, though, because it is highly addictive. And also, it's a stimulant. When you start to get off of caffeine and stop taking it, you can have the worst headaches. I know that when I actually use caffeine too much, have too much coffee in a day, the next couple days, sometimes I can get just horrible headaches. So be careful with caffeine. He suggests combining it with a supplement called L-theanine. L-theanine, which is an amino acid that has calming effects. In this case, it smooths over the anxiety effects or the over-alertness effects of caffeine. So you take it together with caffeine, L-theanine, and caffeine together. And the third one he recommends for beginners is creatine, surprisingly. As someone who's done some bodybuilding in the past, I was surprised to see it on here. But apparently, there's a growing body of research that suggests creatine has a variety of neuroprotective effects, meaning it can help produce mental fatigue, as well as symptoms of sleep deprivation. It could also help aid in depression. So it reduces the symptoms of depression when you're feeling a little bit down. It's also extremely cheap and has no known side effects other than maybe some tummy upsetness, some gastrointestinal discomfort if you take too much all at once. So again, those 3 beginner supplements that you can use are caffeine and L-theanine for increased alertness, and then creatine for better mental performance, stability, and perhaps even a happier and more productive, relaxed effect by reducing depression and feelings of sadness. It's pretty super interesting. Pretty super interesting. Wow, Joe. Wow. Pretty super nootropic. Nootropics also improve productivity, he says, for beginners in 5 ways. First one is increasing arousal so you work faster. Decreasing your arousal to reduce distractibility or reduce writer's block or distraction during the big game. Increasing wakefulness without increasing overall arousal, which means steady energy without feeling like crazy. Improving your working memory for when you need to study or concentrate, or enhancing motivation to get tasks done in general. So those are the 5 main routes that people use nootropics for in the beginning, which is all kind of productivity or efficiency related. And then in the article, he dives into each one of those: increased arousal, wakefulness without high arousal, memory and learning, motivation, and relaxation or decreased arousal, and then makes specific nootropic supplement suggestions based on what you want to achieve. I'm not going to dive into each one of them. I would suggest reading the article. They're very interesting, but it includes supplements like nicotine, theanine, ashwagandha, caffeine, edrophenol, rhodiola rosea, and then some supplement that's really popular in Russia for sleep called phenibut. I don't know. Regardless, you can't combine it with alcohol. Apparently, it's very dangerous synergistically with alcohol, but it is very effective for putting you to sleep. So with that being said, nootropics can be a really cool, an amazing thing to experiment with to increase your own peak performance. I know that I haven't messed around too much with nootropics, but I'm very interested in experimenting. I have personally experimented with microdosing mushrooms in the past, and that was a very, very, very interesting experience for me. I have wrote about it. Maybe I'll actually talk about it here at one point. But figure out what your nootropic stack is for what you want. Experiment with different ratios to find the best, or the peak on the Dodson curve for you, on the Yerkes Dodson curve, and then find out what works best for you. And if you mess around with nootropics or have messed around with nootropics in the past, reach out to me, comment on the video, let us know how it went, link to other interesting articles, and overall experiment and kind of find your peak performance. So this has been today's Joe Show. Hope that you enjoyed it. Hope that you're alert. Hope that you're alert and awake, and have a super productive day. If you like my show or want to, connect again, it's hijoeshow@gmail.com. Hit that subscribe button, send me to a friend, try out some nootropics, and let me know how it goes. Looking for feedback on how we can make this show better for all of us, and I'll see you again tomorrow.